Hill climbing is insane. Look at this. It's a homemade 1,000 horsepower turbocharged lightweight rocket ship, and it's what hill climbing is all about. Engineers building incredible machines in their sheds without corporate backing and absolutely sending it up a hill, all to see who is the fastest. And what's better is that there are almost no rules, so engineers can get as crazy as they like. So we're going to go over our 10 favourite hill climb cars and tell you why they're awesome. Hill climbing happens all over the world, on stages like Prescott Hill in England, which is less than a mile, to places like Pikes Peak, which is over 12 miles and finishes in the clouds at over 14,000 feet above sea level. Tight corners, acceleration zones and incline means that power to weight ratio and downforce are key. Expect cars with multiple turbos and massive wings to give them the boost and agility to set a good time. This means that hill climbing creates some of the craziest looking and most powerful cars in the world. And we start with this Fiat 500 Puch hybrid, and we don't mean it's a hybrid like a Prius, it's a hybrid between two completely different cars. This mid-engined rear-wheel drive car started life as a Puch 500 in the 1950s, getting its body shape and name under license from Fiat 500 while Puch developed the internals. So that's all it shares with either car now. This creation by Austrian racer George Packer has been heavily modified for hill climbing. It has a tubular space frame chassis wrapped in a custom body kit that keeps the weight to a minimum, and a rear wing to help keep it planted in the corners. But it's what's under the bonnet that makes this car really stand out. It has two Hayabusa motorbike engine heads mated together to create a V8 that produces 350 horsepower and revs to over 11,000 RPM. So why not use a conventional V8? Well, combining the two Hayabusas gives you a much lighter and more compact engine compared to a normal V8. This is perfect for a custom-made sports car like the Fiat 500 Puch. This is what hill climbing is all about. Taking an ordinary car and transforming it into an absolute monster, just for the sake of it. Next is a car that comes with racing pedigree. It was part of the crazy Class B of rallying in the 1980s. Check out a video on that era right here. The original Ford RS200 was already quick, but to tackle Pikes Peak, the owner Liam Doran decided it needed modifying. It has the original gearbox, but that's about the only thing left untouched. The mid-mounted 2.4 litre Cosworth engine has been modified and has a much larger Garrett turbo installed, so that the power output has gone from 250 to 900 horsepower. This is as well as 950 newton meters of torque. This RS200 also has NOS installed to get extra oxygen into the engine for combustion and reduce turbo lag, increasing power for a short time. Shooting oxygen directly into the combustion chamber causes engine damage due to pre-ignition and detonation, so nitrous oxide is a safer way to increase the combustion. When nitrous oxide is added into the engine, the compound doesn't release oxygen until it's mixed with the fuel. This increase in oxygen aids the burning of the fuel as it pushes the piston harder and produces more power, without the danger of pre-ignition. All of this means it can do 0 to 60 in 1.7 seconds. That's much faster than an F1 car. The only part limiting its top speed is the enormous 3-element rear wing, but it's worth it for how much downforce it produces. What's most crazy though is this run. Just look at this. Not even a puncher can slow it down. During a hill climb run at Shelsley Walsh in 2017, it clipped a hedge causing a puncture, but just carried on, and really quickly too, powering up the hill and finishing the stage on 3 wheels. This Audi Quattro from 1984 is another former Group B rally car that has found its way into hill climbing. This particular model is the production version of the Group B rally car, so it is well suited to hill climbing because of its short wheelbase and 4-wheel drive system. This helps the car rotate around the tighter corners and makes it much more agile. Plus, this is no ordinary Audi Quattro. The engine, bodywork, drivetrain and chassis are all custom and tuned for maximum power and noise. The 2.2 litre 5-cylinder engine and turbocharger produce 1,005 horsepower. And even with 4-wheel drive, this thing looks like an absolute handful. But you just can't beat that noise. The turbo pop and flames are 100% worth it. The insane power doesn't stop with the Audi though, and our next car takes it to another level entirely. This stealthy looking Nissan GTR R35 produces 600 more horsepower than the Audi at 1,600 horsepower, and it only weighs 1,300 kilograms thanks to its carbon fiber body. That is a ridiculous power to weight ratio of 1,100 218 horsepower per tonne, and that's getting quite close to a Formula 1 car. What creates this much power is a 3.8 litre V6 combined with twin turbochargers that, alongside the 1600 horsepower, produce a maximum of 1,450 Newton meters of torque. To put that into perspective, an F1 engine produces between 600 and 800 Newton meters of torque, so the GTR has roughly double. And to control all of this power, it has a huge aero package. The splitter and front wing, which is taken from a Porsche race car, provide lots of front grip, while at the back the giant 3-element rear wing and diffuser help control that insane power to the wheels and basically stops the car from taking off. The complete package means that at 280 kilometers per hour, the car produces 2.2 tons of downforce. It's no wonder that this car beat the Imola hill climb record for modified saloons on its first attempt, then took the overall shootout win in the dark later that day. Are you unsure about exactly how these cars produce downforce with their wings? Well, today's sponsor, Brilliant, can help you. Brilliant has optimized its platform's design to give you the tools to learn the way that suits you best. They are the best place to learn about science, technology, engineering and maths, with thousands of lessons among over 70 courses that enable you to learn by doing, with new content added monthly. Now, my recommendation would be the course on classical mechanics, as it uses Formula 1 as a case study, building your knowledge of friction, aerodynamics and torque. Just look at this, it's even basing sections on the Lowe's hairpin in Monaco. This course is going to be right up your street if you're an F1 fan. This is what Brilliant does so well. It creates a fun environment to learn in and uses real-life case studies to give real-life context. I'd also recommend their scientific thinking course. You'll explore the laws of physics and principles of engineering and learn the rules as you play. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/driver61 or click on the link in the description. And the first 200 of you to sign up will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Another car built specifically to conquer Pikes Peak is this 1967 Chevrolet Camaro. But there isn't much of the original Camaro left, really just the body. Just like the Fiat 500 Puch hybrid from earlier, everything else has been upgraded. The 7-litre V8 engine from GM powers this with another Garrett turbo, this time the giant G45, and its estimated power sits at 1,200 horsepower. Unfortunately for Mike Dussault, its creator and his team, the Camaro was plagued with steering issues on its debut at the mountain stage in 2020, when it crashed out. But to be honest, I'm not surprised they've had some steering issues. Watching the onboard footage from this event shows just how violent this car is. Now, it's not just about power in hill climbing. The tight and twisty stage means that the aerodynamics and downforce are equally important to set a good time. I've done a few hill climbs before, and lots of the run time is in the acceleration zones. You have to maximize the exits of the corner in order to carry momentum up the hill. And this Opel Kadett does just that. Space frame chassis keeps the weight to about 800 kilograms, and the body is extra wide so that it covers the wheels for maximum aerodynamic efficiency. The low skirts around the edges help seal the air in, creating plenty of ground effect on the floor. The result is lots of downforce to help tackle the corners. This is helped by the massive rear wing and diffuser, which is wider than the car's fender flares, sucking in air from the car's sides. And just look at the front splitter as well. The edge helps push the airflow over the wheels and keeps it attached to the edges as it flows towards the rear. But this Pikes Peak Legends has an even bigger splitter. This Suzuki XL7 was driven by Nobuhiro Tajima, known as the monster to the overall win at Pikes Peak in 2007 and 8. And you can see why it won. The huge rear wing and skirts worked with the splitter to give it great grip on all surfaces. And back then, Pikes Peak was a mixture of paved roads and dirt, so the car had to work well on both. It also helped to have a 3.6 litre twin turbo V6 that produced almost 1,000 horsepower, all in a frame weighing 1.2 tons, giving it a power to weight ratio of 834 horsepower per ton. Mr. Tajima was absolutely thrashing it around, spending a lot of the time sideways, which looks absolutely incredible. This 2013 Ford Open buggy has been a staple of Pikes Peak competition in recent years, driven by the Varschultz family, who has been racing at the stage for generations. This vehicle has a Ford 417 methanol-powered two-stroke engine that is also mounted in front of the driver, making it pretty unique. The two-stroke engine helps keep the weight down while not losing power output. This means it weighs just over 1,000 kilograms, including the fuel. Using methanol as a fuel gives better efficiency and increased power output compared to gasoline. especially at altitude. The reason to use methanol is that you get the same power even when you have less oxygen. And because of the altitude at Pikes Peak, this is very useful. So the engine doesn't lose power at the top of the run. And it must be working. This thing holds the open wheel record at Pikes Peak. Next up is my absolute favorite hill climb machine. This is a 1949 Ford F1 diesel called Old Smokey. It was bought off Craigslist for $225, but has had thousands spent on it to upgrade. Like other modified cars in this video, only the original body panels are left. It's powered by a 6.7 litre Cummins inline 6 from a Dodge Ram pickup truck, and has a compound turbo setup. A compound setup is when two turbos work together to feed the engine, rather than both feeding the engine separately. In this case, the smaller turbo spools up at lower RPM, and this boost pressure then spins up the larger turbo, meaning you get the peak power of a large simple turbo without decades of lag. Very clever indeed. This setup is so effective, Old Smokey creates 106 psi of pressure, and that's 7 times more than the atmospheric pressure on Earth. To put that into perspective, an F1 turbo only gets to 5 times. This combination creates over 1,400 horsepower and 2,800 Newton meters of torque, which is absolutely mental. But the car also weighs over 2 tons, so the power to weight ratio isn't great. But who cares, it still has over 1,400 horsepower, which is more than enough. Although Old Smokey is cool, this last car is the most extreme. It's the iconic 2006 PVA 6 Dallenbach Special, a car designed and built by Paul Dallenbach himself, who has competed at Pikes Peak 28 times, taking 9 open wheel titles and 3 King of the Mountain accolades, which is given to the car with the fastest time. Like the Ford Open, it also runs on methanol, using a twin-turbo Buick V6 that produces around 1,000 horsepower. This is all in a frame that weighs only a ton, giving it an ideal power to weight ratio. And this power to weight ratio can be put to good use with one of the biggest aero packages in hill climbing. There's absolutely no extra fat to this car. The huge double element front wing controls the airflow over the body, while the winglets keep the airflow away from the tyres. All of this sends the air to the largest rear wing I have ever seen that creates a lot of downforce. This car is essentially just a load of big wings on wheels. Thanks for watching, and if you want to know more about Pikes Peak, check out our video on it here.